Hey, what's up, everybody? Long time no talk, but I did the bearings today, my bike, the pivot bearings and the frame. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. I was a little nervous at first. It's kind of a big job, but you know, I started out doing tire inserts. Did the rear, went in no problem. Minesweeper tire inserts. And so since I had the back off, I had the bike in the stand. I started with the two bearings in the very bottom of the rear triangle. They were pretty gritty. They don't even roll. So I started with those, took those out, put in new ones, re-greased them, re-greased the pivots, and then I basically just worked my way up the frame. So I started back here, did this one, then I did this one. So I replaced all those bearings. And honestly, the hardest part was lining this up to put this coil back in. I swear to God, honestly, it's not a hard job, you know, if you have the right tools. Got a bearing puller set from Amazon and a couple of punches and a mallet just to knock the bearings out. Then I re-greased everything. I found sockets that fit the outer diameter of these bearings themselves. Tapped them in with a mallet so I wouldn't damage the paint on the bike. Honestly, it's a fairly easy job. It doesn't take too much. Just don't drop anything. There is some spacers, there's some shims, there's make sure all the spacers go back the way you took them, took them apart. Just reverse it, and that's pretty much it. I put on a 38-2 sprocket this morning. I put on a bash guard on the chain. I had to modify that bash guard so the chain would fit inside there. The last thing I did was my front tire insert on this 29 because I'm running the mullet setup, 27.5, 29. The biggest pain in the ass today for me was this front tire insert, and it is still not right. There's a slight wobble in the tire. It took forever to reseat the bead on this bike, or on this front, to stretch the tire out enough to get back on the rim. That was the biggest problem, just to get over that tire insert. And still, like I said, there's a slight wobble. It was rubbing on my fender, so I adjusted the fender. It went away, but it's still not right. You know, I can see the wobble as I'm riding. Pisses me off because I spent a lot of time on a fucking tire insert. It's like, come on. Pissed me off. I was throwing tools, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, front tire insert was harder than the frame bearings, honestly. So anyway, if you want to attempt it, you can do it. It's not that hard of a job. I'll put the description in the link. It's not a tough job. You just got to pay attention to what you're doing. Replace things the way you took them off. I'm trying to find the worst bearing. Probably this main bearing right here. This is on your upper pivot. One of these big ones. There's one on each side. There's shims in there. But this sucker, I mean, I got to really turn it to get it to roll. Just feels like there's gravel in there. This is probably the worst one. The rest, they're a little bit greedy, but this was the worst right here by far. Anyway, that's that. All right, so I got a little how-to video. I filmed a little bit of it. Hopefully I got enough for you guys to attempt this yourself. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. Enjoy the video. Hope you learned something. All right, so I removed my bearings. That goes in this pivot area, right in there. Super gritty. Feels like there's rocks in there. We got these new ones right here. Just buttery. That's what's going in. Those bearings, they feel all right. No lateral movement. So got the new bearings in to the inside of these spacers right here, so they can stick on the inside of the frame. And then on the outside, you got these. So I'm going to apply a little bit of grease on there. These go right there. Then you got to bring everything up together. All right, so the hardware, it did actually come with blue Loctite on it. I'm surprised, but I'm going to add some more to it. And I'll probably put a little bit of grease on here when I slide it in. All right, moving on to the upper suspension linkage. Check these bearings out. It's got Loctite on it. Unbelievable. And I already removed the shock pivot that goes down here for my coil. Now I got to remove this side over here. These actually weren't too bad on my bike. Some people, I know they mentioned stripping the threads, but mine are coming out pretty clean. Just going to tap this out gently. Don't mess up your threads on your hardware. It's going. And I forgot who, but somebody sent me this punch system. Look at that. Looks to have some, yeah, somebody sent me a set of these. Sorry I forgot your name, dude, but thank you. They're coming in very handy. All right, so let's get that out of there. Let's see what's going on in here. Yeah. Okay. There's that. Pick up all the pieces. So this is what you got inside there. You can't put them in backwards. I mean, you could, but not really. You got this one side with that shoulder on it. And then you got this little washer. It's the same with the rear pivot. The tough part is getting them all in together at the same time. So you got your bearings right in here. All right, we're going to be pulling those out and checking them out. All right, so I'm going to take this big ass pivot bolt out. Hopefully it comes out with ease. There we go. Okay, it's turning. It's a big dog. Jeez. All right. All right, so I'm going to pull this out. I don't know what to expect. Okay, so you got that. It's threaded. And it's dry as a bone. And then this other side, you have to tap that out. There we go. Once again, these punches coming in very handy. Thank you. And I forgot your name, but somebody sent me one of these, the set. Putting them to use. All right. What's the other side? It's got some Loctite on it, but no grease. Okay. Don't know what's going to happen right here when I pull this, but. All right, so I'm pulling down gently. Come on, baby. There we go. We got some washers. There's the pivot. Put this on the table so everyone can check it out. And you got your main big bearings in there. All right, so here's those washers that came out. And that pivot. It's just paint right there, peeling back. So here's a look at that pivot. There's those bearings. I'm going to replace those bearings and these big main bearings right now. My bearing puller set. All right, so using this punch, I'm just pushing through this side. I'm punching the bearings out. One's already out right there. You can see it. It's not as gritty as the ones that came out of the rear triangle, but we're still replacing them. Okay, so what I did was basically got that punch on there, held it against my body. You can see it's coming out. There we go. Free and clear, ready for the new bearings. All right, so this one that I just took out, it's very gritty. You can feel it. So, good thing I'm replacing these. Now, you don't have to do this. This is just for my peace of mind. You know, I ride this bike hard. I ride it as much as I can, as hard as I can. And yeah, I'm sure I put it through a lot of abuse that some of you probably won't be partaking in, but if you are, this is probably highly recommended. I'd do it. Peace of mind, right? And it's not too hard. Bearings are fairly cheap. I got plenty. So I'm going to do my buddy's bikes too. These are the big main bearings that I'm pulling out right now, that suspension. And then these are the smaller bearings. I think I spent like 30 bucks on bearings. Not a big deal. All right, 2000 grit sandpaper. You don't have to do this, but where the bearings go, I'm just going to kind of take a little bit of paint off those edges. Like I said, you don't have to do this. This is just me. Maybe a little bit on these. You can see where it rubbed the paint. It's pretty rough right there. No grease. No bueno. You pitted right there. I just smoothed it out a little bit. So when it goes back in, it goes in a little bit smoother. And of course I'm going to add grease to this too, these pivots. The fit and finish on these bikes is not, you know, very well. You got to massage it. You got to finesse it. You got to love it. Put that new bearing in. I pushed it in with my finger, pretty much flush. So now I'm just going to tap it in. And I've been using a 1/2-inch socket to seat it. Just tap it in there. That's it. Didn't take much. Bearing's in there. Now I'm going to do the other side. So I got it all greased up. Got my new bearing. See if this one goes in as easy. Okay, got that in pretty good with my finger. Now I'll take that 1/2-inch socket. Easy. All right, so I got this bearing puller. To be honest, I've never used one before. I guess you just can't slide it. Oh, shit. Beautiful. That worked like a charm. There's the bearing. All right, so here's that bearing that came out. Pretty gritty. It's not bad, but you can feel a little bit of grit in there. All right, let's do the other side. All right, so I just pulled that out from inside of here in the bearing housing. Look at that thing. Paper thin. I wouldn't call that a washer. I'd call that a shim, I guess. So don't lose that. It goes right in there. Right inside there. Like so. All right. We'll clean that out before we put the new bearings in. All right, so here's your bearing puller. Goes inside. I want to get it right to the edge of that bearing. Then you tighten this. Get your wrench on it. Snug it up. Okay, so that's in there. Now I put the slide hammer on and I just, with force, hammer it back. All right, so I thread this in there and slide this back. There she is. Nice. All right, here's that shim I was talking about. This one has one too. Paper thin. Clean all this area up inside here. Put fresh grease and fresh bearings. It's pretty easy. Just need a few specialty tools. That's about it. And time. All right, let's get in there. Make sure it's all clean. Get behind the ears. All right, there's a look at the inside. It's ready for those little shims, bearings, grease, and you got to put these new bearings in right here too. I'm going to be generous with this grease. Don't be shy. Right inside there. Because whatever squeezes out, I'll just clean up. All right. Next is your shims. Goes in there, back. Okay. Next is the bearing. All right, so here's the new bearings. Hopefully these go in without a hassle. I'm just going to start tapping them in with the mallet. Back this camera up a bit. Okay, they're in, and I'm going to use this old bearing. Basically put it over the top just to make sure that son bucks in. That's pretty good. Here we go. All right, other side. Got the shim. Got my bearing. Try to put it in there as flush as I can. My mallet. Just tap it. Kind of in a circular motion. Okay. Now I'm going to use that old bearing. It's in there. All right. I already got the bearings in this lower portion of the suspension linkage. So everything's ready to go back in place. All right. So these need to go a little bit deeper in. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that old bearing, big socket, tapping it in there. Try not to chip any paint. All right. So that bearing's in there a little tiny bit. Just take some channel locks. Don't scratch your paint. There you go. Wiggle it out, and that's recessed in there. All right, so you got to get these cables underneath the brace. And you got your washers. They go up under there. Another washer. And they go in with that little indentation. Put them in there together at the same time. It's a little difficult to show on video, but there we go. Okay, that's on there. It's a little difficult. Now I'm going to grease the hardware, put it back in there. All right, of course, glue Loctite. Nice generous amount of grease. Make sure everything lines up. All right. Okay. There we go. Got that in there. A little bit of grease on the other side. Tighten it up a little bit. Before I tighten this too tight, I'm going to put those bottom pivots in also. Okay. All right, so for these inside spacers, these ones with the shoulder versus the flats, the ones with the shoulder go just like this on the inside of this bearing, and these flat ones go on the outside. And then everything gets pushed back into here. All right. And a little trick to hold everything in place, put a good glob of grease on it. That way it'll just stick on there like so. Like I said, you can clean everything up later. Don't worry about making a mess. This is the hard part. At the same time, without everything falling apart. I'm trying to get everything in between. Oh, see? I'm already losing shit. Here we go. So far, so good. I'm going to line up the holes. There it goes. Okay, so that's through. Side, same thing. Okay, both are through. Now these nuts go on. You see that little recess? That goes into the frame, just like that. All right, so I got that nut in the recess right there. I'm not going crazy tight right now. I'm just snugging it up. All right, can you see that recess right there where my finger's wiggling in the frame? That's where this goes. Get that thing set in there. Okay, had to change the battery, but here we go. So right here where my finger's at, threading this hardware through. See it coming out right there. Okay, like I said, I'm not going crazy tight right now, just snugging it up. Now I'm going to put the suspension back in place. All right, this is the suspension hardware, goes through here, smooth it out with this 2000 grit sandpaper. It's a little rough. Then I'm going to grease it, stick it back in there, and put some blue Loctite on the threads. Just trying to make everything a lot more smooth. All right. Oh, trying to line up that suspension hole. Come on, baby. You got to talk to it. Almost got you. You're right there. Oh, you son of a bitch. All right, there we go. Found it. Okay. Found the hole. It's going to be nice. Everything re-greased. New bearings. It's going to be badass. So this takes a 5mm. I'm not going to go crazy tight. Make sure everything is moving fluidly, smoothly. Okay. Everything's got Loctite too, so I'm not really afraid of anything coming loose. All right. Looks good. Time to do some cleanup. I think I'm pretty much done. All right, everyone. That's it. New bearings, new bearings. I didn't show you that, but I did that earlier. New bearings back here. I'm just going to go around, snug everything up, and take it for a spin. So today, I put on a 38 tooth chain ring with a bash guard. I did some tire inserts. I did the rear tire so far. I'm going to do the front tire next, the 29er. Oh, and actually, I put a new sticker on it. So, yeah, been a busy day. Very productive. It's nice to have that peace of mind, all those bearings replaced. A little chipped, a little bit of the paint right there. Who cares? But all right, it's time to button everything up. Then I'm going to take it for a ride, see if it feels any smoother. All right, that's going to do it for the day. Got a lot done. Bike's looking good. Still got to take it for a spin, like that tire, with that insert in it, spinning. All right, I'm going to save the results of the suspension and the bearings for my next ride. I'll let everyone know what I think of it and if it's worth it, if I can actually feel a difference. that's it, everyone. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, share. Check out www.simplepleasuresmtb.com. And I appreciate everyone's support. Everyone have a good day. Stay stoked.